Welcome to Nitro Nights Stories. If you love sim racing, then you should stay with us the next 30 to, well, let's say, 60 minutes. We will have a very special guest here. It is Tom97, and I'm really, really looking forward talking to him. Hey, Tom, how are you?
I'm very well, Steffi. Good evening. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, we're also very happy. Straight from Spain, is that right?
Correct. I'm British, but I live in Spain. I have to clarify this all the time in my YouTube comments. People are very surprised.
Yes, I was also very, very surprised. So you are British, but living in Spain sounds to me like living the dream. How come that you live in Spain?
It wasn't my decision. My parents, 20 years ago, decided to move out here when I was just a child. So, yeah, I'm guessing the weather probably was a big factor. Of course, that's the main reason. And also, I have family in Spain, so I'm half English, half Spanish anyway. So yeah, that's also another reason why.
Oh, okay. But if you could choose right now, living in the UK or living in Spain, what would you say?
It's a difficult one. I do love my country. I love England. That's where I'm from. I like things of both. If I had to pick, though, I've always said it, I probably would like to go to England. I think because I've not
Yeah.
lived it as an adult, I'd love to experience that for a few years and then I can decide. Because I think in terms of what I do, in terms of YouTube and stuff, being in England, there's probably better opportunities for me out there, and I've got a lot of friends and contacts out there as well. So a bit of both. I've got my friends in Spain, friends in the UK. I've got to work in the UK, but out here I've got the good weather. So it's difficult. It's difficult.
Oh,
I can't
Tom,
tell.
you still have a lot of time. You still have a lot of time. Even if you say in 10 years I'm going to the UK. Yeah,
Mm.
let's not think about the pandemic and stuff like that, but you still have time to live in the UK, so no
Yeah,
problem with
of
that.
course, of
But
course.
for all the people who don't know you, let's introduce you, or maybe you introduce yourself. So you're a creator on YouTube. So if people would be interested in F1, they probably know you, but you just hit the 50,000 subscribers on YouTube in September, right?
Correct. Well, hopefully, if people do like F1, hopefully they know me or start to know me. That's what I'm hoping for. That's the whole point. So, yeah, recently we hit 50,000, a big milestone on the channel, and I'm very happy about that. Hopefully, we can try and do more. I want to try and get maybe 55 by the end of the year. Tricky because you want to use numbers as a reference to see if you're doing good or bad, but at the same time, it's important to not get too obsessed with numbers all the time. It's something I'm trying to learn myself and to kind of teach myself to not look at the numbers all the time. So, yeah, it's a tricky one, but I'm hopefully keep pushing forward next year. Just keep pushing
But
forward.
but you actually said that your goal for 2020 was to hit the 45K, right?
I think so. I think it was. Thing is, every year I always did a tweet and I pinned it to my profile. This year I didn't do one because the last 2 years I didn't reach the target. So I thought, okay, this year I'm not going to do any goals. I'm just going to see what happens. But yeah, there was no chance in my mind at the start of the year that I was going to get anywhere near 50,000. That was not a possibility. So I thought maybe if I have a great year, 45 maybe. But yeah, this year's been really, really good for me. So I'm really happy.
Yeah, that's so good. So congrats on that one. So
Cheers.
yeah, we're talking about F1 content. So what especially can I see on your YouTube channel?
I think the main focus is career mode content. There is a big audience for career mode, but myself personally, I do at the moment enjoy online racing more, so competing competitively at high levels. I seem to really enjoy it. Trying to be on the maximum all the time, going as fast as possible against other people, around the world online, wherever they may be, whoever it may be. It gives me more excitement. I think with career mode, when you're playing against the game, there is a limit as to how much unpredictability or predictability you can have racing against the computer. Whereas
Yeah.
online, every race is a unique different race. So that helps keep things fresh and make things exciting for me. So at the minute, career mode is my main thing, but I am trying to mix the competitive online racing into my content as well.
Yeah, and that's also the very good thing on YouTube, I think. You just start with a topic and then it evolves during the time. So you don't know what you're doing maybe in 5 years time, you know. But let's head back for a minute. I don't want to talk about the day you set up your YouTube channel, but more about when you had the idea of doing a YouTube channel. Do you remember this day, or I don't know, maybe it was a process?
Um, I think it was a bit of a process and also by accident. So I was always pretty quick at F1 games. 10 years ago, 9 years ago, the early F1 games, I was pretty quick. And I just felt like I wanted to show somewhere that I could be quick. And I found YouTube as the way to show it to the people. So I started doing a couple of videos here and there. The quality was really bad. It was very laggy. It wasn't smooth. My commentary was terrible. I probably had a squeaky voice. So they weren't the best videos, but that's how I started. I think it was by accident. I just wanted to show that I could drive well. And I think even to this day, with my videos, I have a lot of pride and I care about my driving. So I make sure I'm driving well because the viewers appreciate good, clean driving. So I think that's something I've kept from the beginning when I started right at the very start. And this was like 2013, I think, something like that, 2013, 14.
So 7 years ago. But
Yeah.
why sim racing? Is it because you had a passion for it ever since? Why not other games? I don't know. I think back then, even though I don't know, League of Legends, Minecraft, there's so much other games out there, also competitive games. Why
hmm
why sim racing?
Um, it's a good question. I think even back then, I can play. I still play to this day. Call of Duty, FIFA, Rocket League, Among Us, Fall Guys, all the games that come out. I play them all the time. I play them, most nights with my friends. And back then, also I did the same thing, but I wasn't as good as those games as I was at F1. I always seem to have something special about F1, even on a controller. Like obviously, I've used the wheel for like 8, 9 years now, but even when I was on the controller years ago, I was pretty quick. So I knew I had something different compared to everybody else. I think that's why I went that way. Also because there's already quite a lot of content creators. Even back then, on FIFA and Call of Duty, there was a big community. So it's harder to get noticed. Whereas F1 and sim racing generally, yes, there's less of an audience. It's not as big as other games, but you've got a better chance of potentially being discovered, basically. So I think there's a bit of both factors, being good at the game and also a relatively new community as well.
Yeah, and I think it's always a good thing to have a niche on YouTube, right? And back
Yeah.
then, or even today, it's still a niche. Would you say if somebody says, "Well, I'm actually pretty good at sim racing. Why not start a YouTube channel now?" Would you recommend doing it, or would you say like back then, 7 years, 6 years ago was more the right time?
That's a difficult one. I don't know the answer myself, really. I will admit, if I had to start from zero again, I think it would be pretty difficult. But then again, 7 years ago, I didn't know what I know now. So maybe the starting point and getting started and the first 100 subs, the first 1,000 subs could be easier, maybe. So I could save myself time. But generally, it's a tricky one. I think there's a lot of good creators out there, and it does seem a bit difficult to get noticed, whether that's because of thumbnails, titles, tags, descriptions, or whether it's because the way you do things for the YouTube algorithm. Um, it's a bit of everything. So I think personally, I think it's harder now than it was 7 years ago to get noticed. I do think it's harder.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I saw a Q&A video from you where you
Okay.
said, like, for new content creators, you said all that matters is that you have fun doing the content. Don't
Yeah.
focus on the numbers. I totally agree with you 100%. But at some point, you also need to look at the numbers. I think latest when you decide to do it full time, right? What kind of a role do the numbers play for you?
That's it's an interesting one because I had a path, a journey. So I had my channel originally from 2013 to 2015, and then I had about 800 subscribers, which back then I felt massive. I thought I was a huge channel, and having 800 subs was really, really cool. But then I realized I had a problem with my channel. I can't remember what it was, but I had some kind of website glitch or problem. So I knew in the future I was going to have a problem with that issue. So I had to make a decision either to continue with the channel and potentially have issues in the future or start again. So I started again in 2015, February 2015. I started from zero and I did YouTube as a hobby for fun. I wasn't looking at the numbers. I did it just for fun until approximately 2017 in the summer. At that point, I had about 7,000 subs. That was just by doing it as a hobby for fun. I wasn't looking at the numbers. I was just doing videos that I enjoyed, and I was getting a good response from that content. And then it was in 2017, I went to an event. It was the F1 live event in London, where they closed off all the streets and they just had F1 cars just driving around there. And I was lucky to get a VIP pass for that event, thanks to my friend Arav, who managed to get one for me. And at the time, Arav, of course, did YouTube. So at that moment, it hit me in my head. I was like, wow, YouTube could potentially do this for me and give me access to these kind of F1 events, which is insane. So then it went off in my head, the light bulb went off, and I started to take it very seriously from 2017 summertime until now. So then I've been looking more at the numbers a lot more because you want to make sure you're progressing in the right way. And even now, I wouldn't say it's my full-time job officially, but I'm getting close, But again, it's important to not get too focused on the numbers. You need to look at them, use them as a reference. But if you get too obsessed, you forget about what's really important, which is your content. And that's something I have problems with. I try to work on it all the time. I'm going to be honest. I'm not perfect in that sense.
Yeah, I'm also live streaming, and I also experience stuff like this. That sometimes, if I see that there are only less people than in my last stream watching my stream, I sometimes have the feeling, okay, this one does something with me and how I also like talk in the stream. And I don't know, maybe it sometimes does also something with my motivation. And then I get back and say to myself, hey, it's about you having fun. And that's why people watch your content, because because you are having fun. So if you look at the numbers, always your brain will be, I don't know, up and down, and it's hard to make then also good content. I think it's also a balance,
Mm-hmm.
just yeah, just my opinion. But if you wouldn't do YouTube like almost full time, as you say, what would be your job? What would you do?
I would probably still be working at my previous job, which was I was a receptionist in a 5-star hotel. So that's what I was doing about a year ago, or more than actually 2 years ago. 2 years ago now, actually, which is pretty insane. Time's gone really quick. So, yeah, I probably would still be there because it was a good job. I enjoyed it, and there was potential to earn more money there as a job. So I would have probably stayed there as long as they were happy to keep me, of course, which is a different story. But I would have stayed there.
I could imagine you there at the reception, like a nice clothing and stuff like that. It really fits to you, and yeah,
Yeah.
I totally believe you that you had fun doing it.
Yeah, it was okay. There were some days where it wasn't so much fun. I think working in the summer, 36, 37 degrees, and you're
Oh
wearing
yeah.
long suit trousers, a long shirt with sleeves, you're wearing a jacket. So, and you're carrying all the luggage and all the bags and all the people in the heat. It's a bit, it can get a bit tough sometimes, but generally speaking, yeah, it was good fun. I enjoyed it. And I probably would still be there because it was a pretty safe job and I wasn't at risk of losing it. So yeah, I'd probably be there.
Yeah, but right now you're doing YouTube, and I guess you're really, really enjoying it. How much time do you spend on an average day working on your channel or doing content?
Um, I think every day at least 8 hours. If you want to treat it as a job, you've got to do the same kind of hours as a job. In a way, I think that's the way I see it. Usually it's more than eight, but yeah, eight more or less, because there are days where you wake up and you haven't got the same energy as the day before, or you're feeling a little bit, not so motivated because, lots of things can happen. So yeah, I think 8 hours. I try to keep it like a regular working day, basically.
And then you're also live streaming, right?
Yeah, not as much as I would like. At the minute, only on the Sundays. I stream
Yeah.
my competitive online racing, but I think around January I'm going to try and stream more, especially because YouTube doesn't do that well. January, February, the CPM is very low, so it might be worth spending more time and putting more focus on Twitch, for example.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's deep dive a little bit more also
Okay.
into your passion into F1.
Mhm.
Why this big passion for F1? Does it come from your parents, or where did you got your passion for F1?
It comes from my father, and then from his father, my granddad. So always it's just been in the family basically, and for as long as I can remember, from when I was a young kid, always every Sunday watch the F1 races every single time. For like 20 years now. So yeah, it's just a family thing really, from my dad, just passed down, and I'll probably pass it down to my future kids. Simple as that.
And what does your dad say now? What you actually do with a passion? What is his opinion on your work on YouTube?
Well, I think like most people who have, who work in this type of environment, I think at first they're a bit like, can you really make this a job? Is this really
Yeah,
ideal for
yeah.
you? You know, you should be spending more time studying or spending more time trying to look for a better job. And then eventually, once you start to get to a certain point and once you start to show them the money, I think they start to kind of accept it a bit. So
Yeah.
that's ultimately, unfortunately, in a sad way, because they don't care about the other numbers, but that's the key. That's the important number that matters. So I think once you start doing a little bit, then they start to be like, okay, okay, you've got something there. So we'll let you try.
Yeah, that's this is always the thing about parents, but it's because they care about you. They just want to
Of
make
course.
sure that you can pay for the rent, for the food and stuff like that. So that's why they're looking at these numbers. But what about other series? Are you also doing or doing sim racing there?
No, not really. I think besides my competitive F1 racing, league racing, that's all I do. I wouldn't mind doing more, but for now, I also don't have so much time. So, for example, if I went to a really competitive series or a league, I would have to potentially give up some time making content. So there is a bit of a balance to find. I can give myself a few hours to practice for races, but I can't practice for like a couple of days, for example. So, yeah, that's a tricky one. For example, I get a lot of comments, and I do agree to an extent. People tell me, why don't you try and qualify for F1 esports, for example? because I do feel like I've got the pace if I really wanted to, and people seem to agree that I've got the pace, and they keep on telling me in the comments all the time. But I don't have that time and that energy to dedicate myself to practicing all the time, to getting better and better and better, because it would affect my content. And also, I'm not sure if I want to pursue that. I like competitive racing, but not that competitive, because it's very, very difficult and mentally very draining. It tires you a lot. Lots of hours, lots of practice, trying to improve all the time. I like it, but also I don't love that in a way. It's hard to explain, but I'm quite happy competing where I am right now.
Yeah, and it's also mentally a different thing, I would say, if
Yeah.
you decide doing it like competitive, you know?
Mhm.
And yeah, I totally understand if you say, okay, I have these two paths, and maybe at some point they also cross, but content creating is somehow also a job where you can decide uh, what kind of content you do when. Of course, there's also the community asking for the content, and also the algorithm asking for the content, but mentally it's another thing than doing competitive, right?
Yeah, exactly. I just don't think I would have the mental strength to go to F1 esports, for example. That's too
Yeah.
much for me. If I if I really wanted to, I'd have to be in a really good place mentally, um, financially as well, because ultimately F1 esports is a bit of it's a tricky one, because you don't get paid like regular F1 drivers, like a weekly salary or something, at least not to my understanding. So it's different. It's difficult. So I'm quite happy just creating content personally on my side for now.
Yeah, I totally understand. But you participated in the not the GP race during the first
Yes.
lockdown. How was that? I mean, you drove together with Lando Norris, which is a pretty big thing. How was it?
That was incredible. That was probably in the top three moments of 2020. The GP was just such an incredible event done by the guys at Veloce Esports, of course, and it was crazy. It really was. Just being in Discord, speaking to them and hearing their voice in my ear, that was so strange. It was so strange, and
Yeah,
yeah, I consider myself really thankful, and I always said, there was many events, but if I just got to race in one of them, that would be enough for me. I just wanted that one opportunity, and I was really happy. And also, I actually did a really good job in that race as well. I was really happy with that one. So, yeah, it was a really good event, and I was just lost for words. I was speechless, but always just thankful that I got the chance to be there.
yeah, definitely. I just want to say, guys, this one is live here on Twitch. So if you want to pop your question into the comments, we will surely take a look and then also ask Tom these questions. We have one question here from Berlin Boom Bab. Tom, have you raced real F1 drivers in a gaming tournament? So how is it about real racing?
Well, in real life, I've not done any racing. I did some go-karting when I was younger, so that's about it. I tried it, and I was probably a bit scared, actually, so I stopped doing it pretty much, which was a shame. I think now I'd definitely try again, but I'm a bit older now, so yeah, in real life, not so much. And then in terms of maybe in games, tournaments and stuff and events, the not the GP series, really, that was the only chance I had. But I had two chances. I had Australia and I had Monaco, and I won a race in Monaco. So those two chances were the only two that I had, but they were really good chances. So actually, to be fair, now I think about it, I took part in Veloce Esports Squad Sprint, which is a series organized by them, and it wasn't an F1 driver, but I got to race every week against Thibaut Courtois, the Real Madrid goalkeeper, which was pretty cool. So that was definitely a really cool moment as well. I think Lando Norris may have raced in one of those races. I'm not sure. Jean-Eric Verne raced in the final episode, the boss, of course, of Veloce Esports. So that was one F1 driver I also got to race with in an event. So there's a couple of events where I've had the opportunity to race with those kind of people.
But racing F1 in real life, could this be a goal for you?
No, not now. I think I'm too old. I'm 20. I'm about to be 23. Considering the age of all the drivers, on the grid now, Verstappen, Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris, Lance Stroll, George Russell, Alex Albon, they're all younger than me. So that's already 1/4 of the grid. So yeah, I don't think so. Unfortunately, I think I've missed the opportunity on that one.
Well, but if you have the goal, why not? So that's just my opinion. We also have one question
I need to
here.
get the money to buy a seat.
Maybe
I
wait,
need to get
maybe we
money.
can we set up a donation goal here now live? All right. We have a question from Charles. Charles
Mhm.
Lechair. Can Tom speak Spanish? Seeing that he lives in Spain, it would be quite hard if he doesn't. ¿Sabes cómo es hablar español?
Sí, claro. Yo sé hablar español perfectamente.
That's all I can speak, and I can say me llamo Stefanie. I had Spanish
That's good.
lessons some in school, so I know how to order a beer and to say my name. Basically, that's all.
That's what you need to ask for a beer and say your name. That's enough. That's exactly what you need, especially in Spain. That's all you need to ask. That's the only thing. So that's fine, especially with
And
the good weather. That's it.
yeah, and the good weather. Yeah, I'm so hoping to get back to Spain again because Spain for us Germans, we're right here in Berlin. So the Nitro Nights Stories team is here in Berlin, and for us Germans, Spain is the go-to holiday spot. I guess you know it too, Tom.
Yep.
It's Mallorca. We love we love this island. So
Okay.
right now, let's see how the situation is going to change. Maybe in the next whatever months,
Maybe next
years,
summer.
or
Maybe they
maybe,
have a
maybe.
vaccine in the last 24 hours in the news, a possible vaccine. So maybe next summer, possibly. Who knows?
Yeah. Okay, let's hit. We also have questions from Twitter because we also ask people on Twitter to drop some questions. Superfly 97i asked, out of Schumacher's rivals, oh, which ones do you dislike the most? Oh, that's a hard question.
Um, I don't know. I don't think I dislike anybody. I think why would you dislike somebody? I think when I was younger, when I was a kid before I grew up, I remember Michael battling with Alonso, and I didn't like Alonso very much because he won the championship 2 years in a row and took it away from Michael. But now that I've grown up, I don't dislike Fernando. I like him a lot. So yeah, I don't think I dislike any rivals. I don't think so. I don't think there's any reason to hold negativity in your heart over somebody that battled with your favorite driver. So yeah, I don't think I dislike anybody.
Just to clear this one out, Superfly asked this one about Schumacher because Schumacher he is your favorite driver or one of your favorite drivers?
No, he is my favorite. I grew up watching F1 with my father, and he was the man that was winning every race. And the iconic
Yeah,
red car, red helmet on top,
yeah,
number one, it was in my head when I was young. He retired a bit too soon, so I was 10 years old when he finished. But even then, I remember races growing up, and it's strange because people tell me, who do you support now, or do you support somebody
mm,
else? I don't. It doesn't feel right. It has to come from here, and I don't have that connection with a driver like I did with Michael. So I'm quite happy to be neutral and just watch it and just enjoy it and not have any favorites.
yeah, and also with this icon like Michael Schumacher, we would say in Germany, um,
Hmm.
it's pretty hard also only to think about it, because as you all know, guys, that this accident happened to Michael Schumacher, which made the whole, not only the racing community like stop for a long time, but also a whole country. For us as Germans, it is still a very big thing, and we don't get any news. We don't know how he's doing, and but how was it for you, Tom, when you heard the news that Michael Schumacher had his accident?
Oh boy, that was it was an interesting one. I didn't suffer too much because I was younger as well. I was 13, I think, or 14. Actually, no, wait, it was 2013. So I would have been 16. But I don't think none of us knew or was going to know how bad it actually was. At the time, it was just like, okay, he's had an accident, he's had surgery, and he's going to make a recovery, basically.
Yeah.
He was in a coma for a little while, and that was it. You know, you just think, okay, in a few days, and then a few days becomes a few weeks, and then a few weeks becomes a few months, and then it's been years, and we still don't know anything. I think if we had known back then how bad it was going to be, like we know right now, I think a lot of people would have been a lot more surprised and a lot more shocked and upset. But at the time, you know, I just thought, okay, I wish him the best. You know, it's not good, it's a bad injury, but he'll be okay. You know, he's Michael Schumacher. He's going to be okay. Or Michael
Yeah.
Schumacher, as you would say in German.
Very good. That was very
Thank you.
good, Tom. Yeah. Charles just said here on Twitch, can't wait to see Mick Schumacher in F1. Do you feel the same way?
Yes, well, I think we're going to see him next year. And again, so far, when I watch him race, it feels correct in here for me to support him. It feels right. So if that continues into F1, then I might start supporting Mick as a driver. So yeah, I'm really happy. I'm going to be happy to see him in F1. I think he deserves it. I think there's a lot of pressure on him because of his surname, you know, being Schumacher,
Yeah.
like his father. But I think he's done a good job, and I think he deserves it. Even if you just forget about the name, he should be in F1 because at the minute he's on course to win the F2 championship, so he should be there for sure.
Yeah. Big footsteps, but I'm also very excited about that one. Let's
Yes.
hit the another question from Twitter. Talks F1 says, "What's the best race you've ever done?"
Ooh,
It's a
I've done
hard
a lot
one
of
too.
races. I've done a lot of races. I do too many races. If it was up to me, I'll do a lot less races, a lot less videos, and enjoy each one a bit more rather than do so many. I think my best one has to be the Not the GP race was really good. The first one with Lando Norris. Also, the one where I won the race in Monaco. Those two were really good races. I've got to be honest. There was also a league race in 2018. I did where I was really slow. I was not going to win. I was like 15th, I think, or 12th, 13th, somewhere like that, out of 20 cars. And the race had rain predicted, and I timed the switch to the intermediates perfectly, and I then drove perfectly in the wet conditions, and I won the race. That was 2 years ago now, I think, at Australia, the Australian Grand Prix in an online race. So that was quite good. I think those three, but they're not the GP race one, Australia, the very first one. That was, I think that's the one as well. I think that one's under pressure with those rule off drivers. That was probably the perfect race.
All right. There's another racing related question because the next one I have here from Twitter is more a personal thing. So Josh here live on Twitch just asked if you could remove a track from the F1 calendar, why is it Sochi?
Sochi is one of them, but I would remove a few more plus Sochi.
All right.
I'll probably get rid of a few. But yeah, Sochi is for sure one of them. I think it's a track that has no character for me. So the entire track is flat. There's no hills up and down. It's 90-degree corners, right, left, right, left. There's no kind of long corners, slow corners, and it's grey. So all the walls, the tarmac, the buildings around it, it's all just tarmac. It's grey. It's concrete. There's no color. There's no vibrance there. So, for example, this year, because it was such a strange season, for the first time ever, we raced in Mugello in Italy, and it was in the countryside, and the track was all hills and bends, and it was all green everywhere, all beautiful and sunny. It was fantastic compared to, for example, Sochi, which is just meh. There's nothing happening. There's just nothing memorable about the race circuit.
Yeah. So it's mostly the looks when you would say or talk about a race or a track that
I
is
think it
like
matters.
good.
I think you
Yeah.
you remember you remember the races that visually are quite
Yeah.
spectacular. So it doesn't have to be natural beauty. Like, for example, Monaco is iconic because of all the casinos and the harbor with all the boats visually. So Abu Dhabi or Singapore, because they're night races, and it just is incredible how visually how incredible it looks. Spa in the middle of the Belgian countryside with all the trees. Austria as well, in the Austrian mountains. I think there
Yeah.
is an element of that. I think a track does have an element of looking pretty cool. So there are other tracks like France, Paul Ricard. It's pretty similar to Sochi, but they've done a good job of the outside of the track is all painted in red, white, and blue in the colors of the French flag. So again, that's quite memorable, and visually, it's pretty cool. Makes us some nice pictures. So there is an element of that for sure.
So could you say that there is the perfect track for you? Is there or yeah, is there a perfect track right now in your mind that you would say, okay, this is just perfect? Or how, if not, how should it look like?
Oh, there's definitely the perfect track for sure. I think um, Suzuka in Japan
Mhm.
is my my joint favorite track with Spa in Belgium. So those two are like this, my favorite tracks. Both great scenery, a lot of history, unique corners, legendary corners. They're basically drivers' tracks. So when you drive them, there's a lot of satisfaction when you complete a good lap around there. For example, at Sochi, which is Russia, when you do a good lap around there, there is no satisfaction. It just doesn't feel great. But Japan, Belgium are great. And then in Germany, you've got the Nürburgring, not the short circuit, but the Nordschleife, the big one,
Yeah, yeah.
the Green Hell. So again, that is the perfect racetrack in a way. There's so many iconic corners. Visually, the scenery, it's incredible where it is and how it looks, and it has everything. It's the ultimate challenge. So I think those three tracks, Spa, Suzuka, and the Nordschleife, and then there's other tracks as well. I like a lot of tracks, but those three for me are very special.
Okay, nice. Let's take a look at the question here, also from Twitter, from K1000. Oh, you already answered this one. Have you always lived in Spain? So this would be a yes. Or have you lived in another
No,
country too?
I'd lived in England until I was 3,
Oh
so
yeah.
or 3.5. So I did live in the UK until 2001, and then since 2001, I've lived in Spain. So
Yeah.
most of my life, but not all of my life. Important.
Yeah, yeah. And then a last question also from Twitter. To drive, do you prefer the F1 game or Assetto Corsa?
Uh, Tricky one. I think
Yeah.
if this question was asked 1 year ago, I would have said Assetto Corsa because the handling is better, but this most recent F1 game, F1 2020, has taken a big step forward in terms of the handling, and it's really good. I really, really enjoy it. I think I probably will say Assetto Corsa just for now, but F1 is getting very close, and hopefully they keep improving because they're getting really close to that kind of feeling that you can enjoy when driving a car. So yeah, they're pretty close, but for now, Assetto Corsa gets the vote.
Okay, nice. Tom, so
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoy seeing like your path throughout YouTube. Now hitting this milestone of 50,000. When I saw that, I was so yeah. I don't know. I was so happy for you because this is for a YouTuber. This is like a big milestone. I think the next one would be then 100K, or what's the next goal on your list?
We'll see. I have small goals and big ones. I think the target next year. I don't. It doesn't matter when, but by the end of the year, I'd like to have 100,000. I don't care when it happens, but by the end of 2021. But I think in terms of the next goal, I'd like to get to 75. 75 would be, 3/4 of the way there. We're nearly there almost. So yeah, 75,000 for now. And then also me personally, every thousand for me is a goal. So that's just me because when I started, when I was a smaller channel, every 1,000 subs for me was incredible, and it still is now. Every thousand that I gain is a mini goal for me, just a little one, baby steps.
Yeah, and what do you do to reach like the small and also the big steps? I know that you just ordered some new lights. Do you want to do some more adjustments to your setup too?
I think you can always improve your setup. So you've got to always try and do better. So I wish I had a bigger desk. I'm running out of space in terms of the setup that I have. I don't have enough space now, so I'm going to get these lights, and that's probably going to take up the last bit of space that I have left. So I'd like in the future maybe to get like a desk which is like this and like this along the wall here,
Yeah.
possibly a bit bigger, so I've got a bit more space. Um, I'd also like to maybe have my simulator separate, or separate that from my workstation. A green screen behind me, some lighting. There's always things you can improve, and I think down the line for sure. I think a better microphone as well would be pretty good as well. So yeah, there's always things you can improve upon. I think if you're not improving, then that's not good enough. I think you always need to be doing better, always.
Yeah, that's a good motto. And always that's the bad thing about sim racing, the rig. It needs so much space. It's that's the bad
Hmm.
thing about it. Because if I look at we also have a rig here in the studio. It's so big. If I would just imagine having this one in my room where I'm streaming, not possible. Do you also have struggles with this one? I mean, you also want to have maybe a bigger rig, like more adjustments to that.
Yeah, well, I mean, in my room right now, I don't have much space. So I think
Yeah,
in terms of big changes to my setup, that's not going to happen unless maybe one day, if I can continue with YouTube, maybe one day I can move out and have my own place. So then maybe I can have a bigger room to set everything up, and not have everything set up in my bedroom, which is important. So my bed's right here. So if I can get rid of that in my future house, move the bed, then I can put the sim there. So that's what the space would be for. But at this time, it doesn't fit in my room. So I'm kind of limited in that sense. So I can't have a sim rig right now. But maybe in the future, you never know. I'm hoping one day I can move one day.
yeah, and it's always a good decision to separate the the space where you do your content and your bedroom. Of course, we have
Yes.
no.
Hmm.
Yeah, we still have one question also here in the chat
Mhm.
from Charles. Are you going to be doing more collabs with other YouTubers such as Arava and others?
I hope so. I don't have anything planned at the moment. I've got to be honest, but for sure, I'd love to, do some collaborations in the future. I get on very well with Ben, Tim Marduk, or Arava, and a bunch of other guys as well. There's good creators inside the Veloce Esports team as well, and yeah, for sure, I'd love to do some more collabs down the line. I think ultimately that's one thing YouTube still has. So, 8, 10, 6 years ago, before YouTube got quite complex, the beauty and what was quite special about YouTube was collaborations, because it's the old fashioned way of gaining new viewers and subscribers. And I still think that's a big factor now to this day. If you want to try and help your channel start, that's still a good way of doing things. Um, you know, Collaborating with people that you know and get on well with is important. You can't just collab with anybody, because if you've never spoke to them before, or you've never done anything with them, or you don't know them that well, the chemistry isn't there. So the video, you can tell, isn't right. It lacks something. So doing a collab with someone that you know really well, it's a lot easier, because you can laugh a lot. You can do good jokes. So definitely important to collab with your friends. That's a key thing.
Yeah, and how is well with whom is the chemistry the best? Would you say, or do you keep it a secret?
No, I've all the clubs I've done in the past, I always make sure I I get on well with the person. So if there's been any collaborations on my channel, which there hasn't been for a long time, I will admit, I've always done them with people that I know. I think my most recent collaborations are on the Veloce Esports YouTube channel. I did some collabs with Arava and Tim and Marduk, who of course are the two biggest creators inside the F1 niche. Also, other people like FNG, who does football content. He's on like 500,000 as well. Um, Loads of people, and also people who aren't YouTubers anymore, who I got on with really well. Um, you know, there's loads of collabs that I've done in the past, and I just always make sure that they're with people that I know. I I don't really have like a favorite, because everyone brings something different to a video, and you like things about each person. So I've always enjoyed my collaborations. I wish I did more. I wish I did more.
Yeah, in the future, maybe. Let's talk about
Maybe.
a little bit
Hmm.
about the future. What's up next for you, Tom? What can your subscribers, your viewers expect next from you?
Hmm. That's a good question. I don't. It's a funny one. I have predictions in my head in terms of what I'd like to do, but realistically, at this point in time, I don't have much planned. I'm quite happy doing what I'm doing right now. It's doing really well, so I've got no reason to kind of think far ahead or change that too much. For now, I think it's just maximizing the rest of the year until the end of December, and then starting from January, I think obviously the CPM is quite low, so I might take some time off in January. That's usually the month I use to kind of recharge the batteries a little bit, and I'll miss a few videos in January because I need that kind of time off for the rest of the year. I think definitely my big goal for 2021 is streaming. So I definitely want to try and do that a lot more. I want to build a secondary revenue, kind of a secondary platform to YouTube. So I don't rely just on YouTube, because that's not great in terms of a business perspective. So yeah, definitely try and build up my live streaming Twitch audience for sure.
Yeah, and also Twitch is so much fun. I think the
Mhm.
best thing about Twitch is, yeah, it's the fact that you're live. Like we're right now here. You can talk to people who are in the chat. They can ask questions right away, and it's I somehow feel like when you're streaming on Twitch, you don't play a game just with you and yourself. You I don't know, in my head it's like I'm playing it with a lot of people together, and that's the thing that is so fun about Twitch. And then also you connect so easily also with other streamers and so great people on this platform. I
Yeah,
really enjoy it too, and I would
I agree.
love to see more from you also on Twitch.
Hopefully.
We have another question. I
Sure.
really love that you put questions here. So let's have a look at this one too here in the chat. Have you ever met any F1 drivers? And if you have, who is the best one you have met?
I have met them. Yes, I didn't have. Okay, so in I mentioned before, I went to an event in London in 2017, and I got a VIP pass thanks to my friend Arava. So there was a moment where we heard from somebody that the drivers were going to be walking through the hotel. There was a hotel where they were all staying in the same place. So we got into a position with everybody else, and they all started walking past, and we managed to get a few pictures with some of the drivers. So I managed to get a picture with Daniel Ricciardo, Felipe Massa, Valtteri Bottas, and then former F1 driver David Coulthard, and the commentator Martin Brundle. And then my friend Arava, who I was with, I managed to get a picture with him and his favorite driver, Jenson Button. So yeah, it was really good. I think Daniel Ricciardo, as you'd expect, he was the funniest guy. He had a little joke at the time. The funny thing is, I forgot the joke, and I'm really upset I don't remember it. But he was. I remember he did a joke at the time, and it was really funny. And maybe I might have to ask Arava what it was, but he was the only one who said something different besides the rest of the drivers, who were just like, "Can I have a picture?" And every driver just said, "Yeah, sure, do a picture." But Ricardo said like a little joke or something, and it's a little detail, but the little details are what you remember and what makes it special compared to everything else.
But that would have been a really great story if you could just remember this joke. So you were so
I
nervous that
know,
you
I
cannot
hate myself for it.
remember this.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. I do get very nervous, so that was probably what it was. I think up until about a year ago, I remember what it was. I think because I haven't told this story in so long, I might have just forgotten. I've not actually told anybody in a long time, so that's probably why.
Yeah. Another question here in the chat too. But before, I personally want to know: do you also do community meetups? Well, right now it's not really possible, but would this be something that you would also do?
I've not thought about it, to be honest. I've I've met fans before a few
Yeah.
times. I think let me think. One, I think like 3 times I've met fans. I'm yeah, three different occasions I met fans. I think twice at Silverstone when I went to the F1 race in 2017, and then once at the Belgian Grand Prix last year. No, 2018 in the Belgian Grand Prix. So yeah, I've had experiences before, but I don't know. It's not crossed my mind. I think because I live in Spain, I'm not in the UK. It's not as easy for me to organize something. So yeah, it's not really something I've thought about, to be honest. I also don't consider myself that popular or something that I think I don't. I feel like if I did it, nobody would arrive. So not yet, anyway. Not at this stage.
But maybe something for the future. But how did this one feel? I mean, if you ask people who never got in touch with fans and then meet fans for the first time, they always tell you, "This is so weird. It's so weird." How did it feel for you? How was it for you?
It's strange. It just feels really weird when someone approaches me, not in a bad way, but in to me it's just surreal because when someone approaches me saying they know who I am and they like what I do because of my videos, it's so strange to me. I don't know how to react. I'm really awkward. So I don't know how to react or what to say. I just kind of say thank you. And I try to be as normal as possible with them because I think that's the best way to get on with it instead of trying to pretend or act weird or I don't know. I don't know how you would act. I don't know how to act. I just try to make sure I stay normal. I have a conversation. I try to get to know them, how they follow me, and then they start to bring a bit of conversation as well. So I find being normal with them helps, because then they kind of start to talk a bit as well, and you have a natural conversation, which is good.
Yeah, and you should also consider to get used to it. If you want to gain more subscribers, then more people will know you, and then also in the future you will meet even more people who would say, "Hey, Tom, I love your content," and then you get in these situations more often. Yeah,
For sure.
I have another question here from a driver unseen here on Twitch. Do you think a midfield team will rise up in 2022? If so, which one?
Okay, good question. I think everyone's interpretation of a midfield team could be different. So
Mm.
what I say, others might not agree with, but I think McLaren, probably McLaren. I think historically in F1, they've always done this. So they're on top for a few years, then they have some really bad years. So I think they're starting to really climb, and they're reaching the top. So I think McLaren, Renault look really good as well. So probably those two teams.
Okay, great. Tom, I guess we're already talking for 1 hour right now.
Already.
I
Wow.
could talk.
Wow. Wow.
Yes,
It
yes.
has.
I
Wow.
but it was really, really nice talking to you. But yeah, I unfortunately every talk has to pass the finish line too. Oh, what a nice
Very
moderation at
nice.
this point.
Very nice.
Thank you so much, Tom, for being here, and yeah, all the
Mhm.
best also for your YouTube channel. I'm so excited to see your post when you say thank you for 100K on YouTube.
Oh, one day, one day.
Look up.
It's important to not. I try not to get too distracted or obsessed by that. I just hope that if I just keep doing my thing, it will arrive. It will happen by itself. Just gotta keep doing my thing. Like the horses when they race, they have the things on the side of their eyes like this. I just gotta keep like this, just looking forward all the time, not looking to the side or any distractions. Just keep focused on what I'm doing.
Yeah, and yeah, also stay inspired by other things, by other creators,
Mm.
by the community, involve them. I guess you're doing everything right now, so you can be confident with this goal too, Tom. So thank you. Thanks again for tuning
Thanks.
in here to Nitro Night Stories.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm thankful for being here and for the opportunity. Again, any publicity is good publicity, so I'm happy to take it. Even though I may have 50K or whatever, I still consider myself a small creator at heart. So again, like I said before, any collaborations are good. So I'm always happy to be here, for example.
And I also enjoy talking to lovely people like Tom. It was a pleasure for me too, and from us from Overtake and Nitro Nights Stories. You guys, that was it. Thank you so much for all your questions on Twitter, for all your questions also here live on Twitch. If you have any wishes for new guests you would like to see here in Nitro Nights Stories, yeah, then just go to Twitter and pop us a tweet. Who would you like to see next here in this show live? And you can always tune in live, right? Yeah, and that was it for tonight. We see each other hopefully very, very soon. Until then, I wish you a very, very good night. Bye.